would actually like to start talking about the anime that I intended for this video, and this is one of those ones where I watched the anime, but I wasn't in love enough with the series to go ahead and read the manga as well. Well, at least not at the moment. And that would be, today I will be talking about Ouran, Engage the Unidentified, Is It Wrong to Try and Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, and Samurai Champloo. Again, I'm not really sure about the whole structure of this. Maybe I'm putting too much into one video, but I thought that it was better to just talk about little things at a time and broaden them up later when I know more about how this is going to go. So, and I figured always introduction is great, and I can always make a more in-depth video about something more specific later. Okay. So first, Ouran. It's actually been a while since I watched the whole series. I wanted to include it because it's pretty popular. I probably watched it close to when it first came out, and I don't remember when that is, but I know I watched it back in high school, which was like 7 years ago now. So, I really liked it. I laughed like crazy. I think the last time I watched it was actually with my niece when she was spending the night, and we were just cracking up a storm. It's funny. I love it. So basically, if you don't know already, Ouran is about a girl who is going to a private school. I believe she's a scholarship student, I want to say. Anyway, she doesn't look like a girl. She dresses like a boy, and her hair is cut like a boy, and she just doesn't care about gender norms or anything like that. She just minds her own business and wants to be left alone. Until, unfortunately, one day she stumbles into the host club's room, and the host club is made out of rich boys, rich pretty boys, so Bishonen, that hold a host club for the high school, and just entertain the crap out of all the ladies and charm them, and it's just ridiculous. For those of you that don't know, there actually are host clubs in Japan. People pay a lot of money to essentially be charmed by these men. A while back I had done some research about it because I was interested in writing a paper about it, but my brain kind of, refills every now and again, so I'm not super informative. If you'd like to know more, I would, of course, make a separate video and do some more research, which I wouldn't mind doing. So, anyway, okay, so yeah, so anyway, she walks into that, and she accidentally breaks a vase, I believe, and so starts the story of how she has to work with the host club to pay them back for the vase, which they don't actually know that she's a girl for the first little while, and it's pretty hilarious when they figure it out, but they do actually keep her in the host club because there's actually technically no rules against girls being in the host club. So, that was, again, one that I watched a long time ago. It's super funny, super cute. If you like romantic comedies, definitely up your alley. I would say also romantic comedies, colorful, girly, cute, but also has a main character that sort of goes against the norms of what is expected of women, especially beautiful women, because once she dresses up, they all notice how beautiful she is, but it's funny because she is beautiful as society would deem her to be, but she doesn't care. And that's kind of refreshing in a main character. And even more refreshing is the most popular boy likes her both ways, and he just I can't even go into that. So yeah, that was my short and sweet intro to Ouran High School Host Club. If you'd like to know more, please let me know. Or if you would like to watch it, you can either find it on Netflix. I believe you can also find it on Crunchyroll. I want to say. Don't quote me. Okay. So, next order of business would be Engaged to the Unidentified. This is another one of those romantic comedies. I guess technically it would be labeled as shonen or shoujo. It's aimed at older girls, mid-range, you know, middle school to high school. The main character, Kobani, she is 16, and her grandfather has recently passed away, but when he was alive, he made a lot of rules for them, and basically his word was law. So, without her knowing it, she has actually been betrothed to a boy from a very prestigious family that lives in the mountains forever. And apparently she just never knew about it. Well, on her 16th birthday, they decide that it's time for him to move in with them in the city, along with his little sister, Ushido. Mashido? No, Mashida. Sorry. Anyway, they move in, and all kinds of hilarity and funny things ensue. On top of that, the betrothed boy, and I've forgotten his name, which is actually kind of funny because his character is one of someone who is essentially invisible. Basically, he can be anywhere and nobody notices him. He doesn't talk. He doesn't really have much of a personality. But he actually does seem to be in love with Kobani. Oh, on top of that, forgot to mention the sister, Benio. She's so ridiculous. It's great. She's popular at school, and then she's a super creep at home. It's great. She terrorizes Kobani's betrothed little sister, and it's all kinds of hilarity. It's great. So, anyway, I think that this one is a pretty good one. It was funny. I did enjoy it. I watched it all the way to the end. I think that this isn't one of those ones I had to stop. I think I just started and I watched it all the way to the end. But to be honest, I wasn't super interested in the characters. I was kind of sad for the boy who's betrothed, that he has no personality, especially because he's in love with her. I mean, I think eventually she really kind of gets won over, but it's hard when one of the main characters just doesn't have any personality. It's really hard to relate. So, I liked it, but I didn't love it. I do recommend it, though, if you're in the mood for a romantic comedy that's just silliness and kind of ridiculous. So, next one would be... Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in Dungeon? I really, really like this one. I watched this because my nephew suggested it, and he thought it was funny, or, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was my nephew. Sorry. So, I had a hard time getting into it at first because I was really confused. It has, an interesting storyline, though, once you really get into it. So, basically, it's an alternate reality kind of fantasy world. The main character wants to be an adventurer, and adventurers basically have to have what's called a familia, and that is that they are basically pledged to the houses of certain gods. And there's a lot of disparity between the social statuses of all of these gods, as you might expect. And this is actually a pretty common trope in Japanese anime about gods, especially, well, I actually think a lot of the names in this one are taken from like Greek mythology, whereas normally it would be Japanese mythology. But it's very common for there to be a lot of disparity between the gods. Those who are popular obviously have, and well known, obviously have more money, more status, more room for people in their familia, and, you know, ability to actually give the people in their familia, like, special traits, characteristics, abilities, weapons, food, shelter, all those kinds of things. So adventurers basically go, as I mentioned earlier, the familias are consist of the god and adventurers. Adventurers go into what is called the these basically underground levels, kind of like mines, but each level has monsters. And the lower you go, the more powerful the monster is. Now, the weakest and less popular adventurers obviously can go only so far, but basically by going in, you gain power, prestige, you collect crystals, which they can trade out for money. So yeah, it's kind of, I mean, if it was an RPG game, it would kind of make a lot of sense. So our main character is actually in a not very well known god's familia named Hestia. Hestia is adorable, and I think that she is like super in love with the main character, whose name is Belle, or Beruku. Belle is interesting. He's really weak at first. Belle is kind of weak when you start out, like really weak, and obviously not well known because he's with Hestia. Belle's an interesting character, though. He kind of surprises you at how quickly he develops and how, like, I guess the powers that he starts to gain are really mysterious. Not even really Hestia knows about him, or if she does, she doesn't really explain to the audience, like, what the hell's going on. But there's a lot of loyalty and friendships and just kind of a sense of community that starts to happen in the series, and it's really nice. And then also Belle has a crush on one of the most popular adventurers. I should probably do these more recent, but I've forgotten her name. Sorry. If you remember her name, please tell me, and I will make sure to stop forgetting everybody's name. So anyway, he has a crush on her, and she actually starts to notice him, and she's really kind to him, which is sort of surprising, because usually the most popular people don't pay the weakest people the most attention. This is a really good one if you're looking for, like, fantasy and adventure and, you know, kind of like an epic story tale like that. I really liked it. It was fun. If they came out with a second season, I would definitely watch it. It was very good. The animation was great. Beautiful color, everything. Loved it. Very crisp, very clean. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this one if you like that kind of stuff. And yeah, have fun with that one. Okay, last one on my list, and is Samurai Champloo. I actually just recently watched this one, so for the most part, I remember everybody's names. We've got Fu, we've got Jin, and we've got Mugen. That would have been really sad if I would have forgotten that one. I almost did. So basically the main story is that it's about Fu, and she is trying to find the samurai who smells of sunflowers. Which is kind of funny because somewhere in the series they're like, don't sunflowers like not have a smell? Although, you know, I thought they did, and they don't smell very good. Or is that just me? Anyway, as it turns out, the samurai that smells of sunflowers, is her father. And she's been looking for him forever. She actually doesn't even really know what he looks like. She's basically lived most of her life without him. So she's traveling, and well, her mother died, and then she starts traveling, and she stopped in a town, and she's working as a waitress, essentially, when her and Mugen meet, which is a whole thing in and of itself. Basically, Mugen exists by taking on jobs as he feels like it. When he's hungry, he sees some trouble going on, he's like, hey, I'll fuck this guy up if you pay me. That's basically his whole modus operandi. He will fuck anyone up, get in any fight for any reason, for money. Hell, he'll actually do it without money, so whatever. So in this case, though, he actually, there's some issues going on when some corrupt government son comes into the restaurant that Fu is working at, and he starts being belligerent, and she accidentally drops some shit on him, and he tries to threaten her and say that he's gonna, like, cut her fingers off, which is rude, but it is what it is. And then, well, I mean, before that, Mugen had already made the offer of, like, hey, feed me and I'll fuck that guy up for you. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, okay, so yeah, as far as I remember, she does end up offering him food because she's so desperate she doesn't want to lose her damn fingers. And he starts fighting with the guys, and then Jean comes in, and then they start fighting each other, and then the fucking shop goes up in flames. It's kind of ridiculous. So at some point, she ends up making them promise that if she saves their asses after they're arrested after this whole ordeal, that they will travel with her to help her find the samurai that smells of sunflowers. As you can imagine, this is a really unlikely trio, and they don't like each other much at first. They don't even, actually, sometimes, like several times, they get separated until eventually they start actually kind of caring about each other, at least enough to go look for one another. It doesn't happen quickly, and in some ways I think that it's more realistic that way, because sometimes you have these animes where, like, they develop relations like right off the bat. They're like, I love you right now. Oh, I love you so much. You know, and sometimes it's nice to watch those, but it's not always realistic because people's feelings are really complicated, and I do like that aspect of Samurai Champloo, that, you know, it really, I mean, they have some really coarse characters. You know, they're really mysterious and in their own ways, and cut off in their own ways from people and just caring. But you can really see how they grow together over so many episodes, and it's really nice. I like that character development that happens. The animation itself is kind of, sometimes it's nice and clear, but other times it's kind of like, And truthfully, this is one of those ones that I had to, I started watching, and then I kind of was like, meh, and quit for a long time, and then I went back to it and was like, I'm kind of in the mood for a little samurai action. Anyway, well, some ancient history action, or something. I would recommend this one for if you like ancient Japanese like history. I think this is like the Edo area. Oh gosh, Edo era, or set in the Edo area, something like that. Like right after the Warring States period, and they make a lot of mentions about that. So at least that's where I think it's set. Yeah. So. This is fun. So again, I just want to say, please let me know if I've just like packed way too much into this, if you think it's good for, I thought that this was a good structure, like I said, because they're the ones that I want to do and talk about more in detail. I'm going to dedicate one video for, because I'm going to read the manga as well as watch the anime.